Alright, welcome to my first timer tutorial. Today we're going to be doing Actbusies and something I haven't seen that much, Actbusy queues. So we have this nice, beautiful queue right here. We have our spawn point. We have a couple of nodes here. Don't mind this will come in sort of later. Today we are going to be learning about these two items. This is the Actbusy. I've seen many video tutorials on how to use this thing. And the Actbusy queue. So, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna start by placing these down, obviously. And we're gonna create an NPC citizen. Anything you want. Citizens just work the best. They have more Actbusies. So, we're gonna go into this guy, and we're gonna give him a name. Let's call him James. So James right here, we're gonna go over here to our Actbusy. Actors to effect, we're gonna type in James. Also make sure you activate this, start active, search range for busy hints, set that to, that'll make it so that way it'll check all the nodes. Also give it a name, we'll call it James Actbusy. There's no flags, so you don't need to worry about that. Now, James here will act busy once he spawns in. But let's say we want multiple James. We want multiple different James. So what we're gonna do is go over here, and then we are going to check template NPC. And we're gonna want to go over here. We have some spawn points here. This is the NPC template maker. I forgot to clear this. But we're gonna go over here to name of template NPC. I'm gonna say James. Frequency, you can put this as many times as long as you want. Number of NPCs, you can set this to whatever you want. I'll show you how to set it up so that only 3 NPCs will spawn at a time. Start disabled? No, you do not want it to start disabled. Apply. Now, we're going to want to go to the outputs of this. We're going to want to do on spawn NPC. We're going to go over here to the James Actbusy. Now we're just going to want to go force this NPC to act busy, and then don't enter anything down here. So if you don't enter anything down here, it's going to output what triggered this output right here. If you put it in at James, then I believe it will make all the James pick another Actbusy node. Now, something that's nice about these are the hint nodes. You can set a hint group. That'll be handy for later. But we're gonna have this. This is a good trick here. So you can grab a prop static, set it as, go to this file area and just pick any of the males. Then you're gonna wanna get an info node hint. You're gonna wanna put it right there in the middle. I'm gonna clear this though. Arrow++ lets you do this, and it's very, very nice. So, what we're going to do is select both of these, make sure you put this guy so he's in the center of this. And also, the hint nodes, they will face like this. So, sideways with this arrow pointing towards where you want them to kind of stand, is what I figured out. Unless they are, I don't know. If they are leaning up against a wall. Okay, no. I have this the wrong way around, but I believe I know why. If I get this guy to sit. Okay, no, I actually messed this up. So, We're gonna flip this around. This arrow should be facing away from the NPC. And we're gonna do this bench over here. So I have a bench over here. There's already an Actbusy there. But we can move this guy to go right there. And then we can just duplicate him. And now you'll see, once we get in game, the NPCs will sit exactly like this guy. So we can just delete him now. And we can take this guy. I also want him to lean up against the wall over here. So I'll take him. I'll move him over here. You can duplicate him in the middle if you want, but it's not really a matter. And I want him to lean up against the wall. Lean back. If you want to figure out what animation they use, you can go over to your wherever your Half-Life 2 is installed. So find Half-Life 2 here. Half-Life 2. You're gonna go to HL2 scripts, and then you're gonna want to go to Actbusy. This folder right here in this area will give you all the Actbusies. The main ones you want to look at are these ones in all caps. So I want him to lean, so I can hit Control F, search for lean. We can we can search these. Lean wall. Actbusy lean. And there it is. You can see these busy animations. And there it is, lean back. So we're going to go back into Hammer, and we set it up here. Now he's not going to be perfectly leaning up against the wall, but that's fine. And now we're going to go over here. We're going to take this Actbusy, go into this hint. This node ID, don't change that. In the hint here, to world Actbusy hint. Make sure and then set the hint activity to be that. And there you go. Now you can also have some fun here, since there's these two inputs, NPC started using and NPC stopped using. So you can set it up like he leans up against a button, and that button causes an explosion. So we can have him lean up against the button and blow up. I'm not going to show you that though. You can play with that in your own time. But we're also going to do the same over here. I am going to swap these around. Since that does not have a valid hint. Okay, I already have a hint node here. Move this down by one. There we go. Now I'm just going to move this guy into the corners. We don't need him anymore. That's a nice tip for that. And now, James here should go for all the Actbusies. This is also going to be something you also want to do. Not commandable. And also something you can do is ignore the player push. So he'll push the player instead of getting pushed by the player. Now we can start up the map. These are just some good settings for just a small test map. Instantly compile there. We gotta wait a bit because I have a lot of add-ons. It should work in any game other than Tier 2 and Left 4 Dead and Counter-Strike, obviously. Anything with the citizens, the citizen NPC should work, which means it should work in Portal 1 but not Portal 2. Now, so Half-Life 1 is gold source, so I don't have a tutorial for that. We can just wait here for it to start up. Eventually. Maybe it'll start up. Come on. Might just cut this out. Luckily, I have some things to keep me occupied. Come on. There we go. So don't mind that no graph out of date rebuilding. That'll happen every single time you compile your map with nodes, or you change some nodes, and it'll just connect them all up, I believe. So there's no need to worry about that. It's completely normal. Just make sure you compile your map and load it up for one time before publishing it, since otherwise that will appear whenever anybody loads up the map. You always gotta wait for add-ons. I'm gonna go disable that. This is also a good thing if you're working Gary's mod. Go over here to add-ons. This. Disable all. And now, you can see we have James over here. James is going to go walk. He's going to go find one of the hints, place one here, and place one here. But I also have some benches over here, and a couple more leans over here. So now you'll see, he sits down. This also interrupts, so if I hit him, he'll get up and then stare at me. Now you might notice, we have some exits, but the NPCs aren't going there. I'll show you how to make exits here in a second. That's because we never told them to go to the exits. So, I probably should have deleted this. Let's make an exit. So we're going to get an info node hint. We're going to align it with this, since it'll just make it better. If you want to know what these are, you can look at another tutorial. These are the nodes. There's a ton of tutorials out there. And what we're going to do is we're going to raise this just a little bit off the ground. Did I actually do that right? Oh, hi. These need to go. Okay, about one node above. So the height of these nodes, we're going to want to go back over here. Should probably be easier to do it in this view. We're going to want to do that. That's just good practice for these and probably all your other nodes, but I don't really do that. So what we're going to do is change this node to an NPC exit point. And now, NPCs who want to leave, which you'll trigger, will then search for this node, walk over to it, align themselves with it, and then they will delete themselves. So now we're going to go over here, add an output here, on NPC finish busy, select James Actbusy, force this NPC to leave, but then you can also just do self, and it'll still work because it's targeting itself. And then, if you leave this parameter empty, it should force them to leave. It's a good idea to add a small delay, since sometimes they finish busy while they're still getting up. And now, it should work properly. Oh wait, one last thing. To make that spawner work again, on NPC left, we're going to go over here to the James... Oh yeah, I forgot. Give this a name. We're going to call it the James spawner. We're going to go over here. On NPC left, James spawner. We're going to want to set max children, I believe. Set max children. No, add max children. We're going to add 1. And then that should allow it to spawn in another NPC. So now, if we boot up the map, everything should be working properly. And I should add some chapters in here for Actbusies and then the Actbusy queues. Another thing I am going to mention, these will not appear for you. They will just look like squares. That is because I have a custom mod, which I might put in the description, depending on how I'm feeling. And it'll give you those. I made these myself, and I'll even put some install instructions. But now, everything should be working properly. So here we have James. James is walking. And now, James can sit.
Well, Gordon Freeman.
And then these guys interrupt when you get close, so now she is going to leave. She looked at me for a second, then she left. Now we can follow her over here. There's some exits over here. She's going to go over to it, align herself with it, and leave. You don't need any inputs for those exits to work to delete people. See, since we put 2 of these down, they can occupy the same seat. So now, hopefully, if everything worked correctly, we should get another NPC now that that one's left. That one left. If I did it right. I don't quite remember how that's supposed to work. But if not, you just set the NPCs to be a trillion. Yeah, it did not work. So we can check one last time. Yeah, it did not work, unfortunately. I haven't done this part in a while, but let me take a look around. Well, it's not important. We can just go back over to the James spawner here. A number of NPCs, we can just set this to be not a ton. Then we can just set the max live NPCs to be whatever you want. And now, we're gonna have these guys work properly, and they should continue spawning. But, we are now going to go over here to the AI queue. This is the Actbusy queue. So what it does is the same thing as this, but instead of making them go over here to a random node, it will do all these nodes in order. So it'll start from here, work its way up to here. And then you can move the queue up, you can have NPCs exit, enter, all that kind of stuff. So, we're going to want to give this a name. We're going to call this the food queue. We're going to want to create another NPC. We're going to call this Hungry Jim. Actually, no, we'll call it Hungry Barry. So here we have Barry. We're going to go over to the queue, actors to effect. I'm going to say Hungry Barry. So don't forget to start enabled. Yes. That should automatically force them into the queue. We're going to want to set this to 9999. And there you go. So now, for these, same thing as before, act busy, whatever you want. But then, give them a hint group. So start hint disabled. I don't remember why, but just have it start disabled. You're going to want to set the hint group to queue, or whatever else you want. I'm gonna go over to Hungry Barry. You're gonna see hint group right here, right below squad name. I'm gonna set that to queue. So Hungry Barry here should ignore all these and go over to these. But the real thing we want is James. James will go for all these, but James will ignore all these since it's not in his hint group. Now what you're going to do is Actbusy queue is a good one. Set up all of these, Make them names you can recognize. Oh, oops. If you accidentally click on that, just double click on Start Edit. Brings everything back to normal. And then give them a hint group, start disabled, yada yada yada, act busy. No need to change the node ID or the pitch you got roll. Just make sure that this little white yellow line on so the key and hint is where they're going to be facing. Should mention that. Next, you're going to want to have your thingy right here if you want. This is just basic prop dynamic. Give it a name and a sound. Give it a name. Now what we're going to do is go over here. Exit node. This exit node, you'd think we'd set it to this, but no, we're going to want to set it to an info target right here. Just a little bit above a node right here. And call this food leave. The reason you want to do this, I'm actually not really sure why. This is how Valve does it. So if you know the little food queue at the beginning of Half-Life 2, it uses a node right here, but also uses some weird things, so it does not work if you just copy and paste it. I learned that the hard way. This should be the node that the first NPC goes to when they leave the head of the queue, which is node 1. This is the head of the queue. So we're gonna set that. Then just set these up as normal. Node 1 being the one at the egg where you would exit, like the counter or something. Set up all of these. So we have 6 nodes here. Done. Also, make sure you check this. Must reach each from the queue? Yes. So I believe what that will do, you can set it up so that way you can act to be like rollercoaster tycoon, where they might get fed up of leaving. But that'll cause, I feel like that'll just cause more issues from them trying to make their way out of the queue. So it's just a good practice to keep that on. There are no flags, but that should do it. Now we're gonna want to make Hungry Berry spawn. So we're gonna go over here. Make sure to start disabled. No. Number of NPCs a ton. Frequency. Set this to be whatever you want. I'm gonna have it 5. Max live NPCs. We have 6 nodes, so I'm gonna use 6 people. Name of template NPC, Hungry Berry. And now, this should work. And then, since we copied Hungry Berry from James, he already has all of our flags set up. So that's good. So now that we have this, we're going to want to go over here to the front of the queue. Now remember with these right here. So now we're going to create on NPC started using. We're going to give it a delay of however you want. At the end, I'll teach you how to make it random. A random time like it is in Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 uses a weird method, but I'm just going to go a reliable one. This should work even if you copy this over. So we are going to type in, let's say they'll stay in the queue for 3 seconds. After that 3 seconds, we'll play a sound. We'll play the sound. We'll set this animation to dispense. Spelled that wrong. Which will be this. Let's dispense underscore package. Now you see there's nothing on that. I'll show you how to do that here in a second. So, if we want it to get attached here, which I actually don't remember how you're supposed to do. Do I have that? Train station 03. Hang on a second. So, if we're going to do this, let me just boot up train station real quick. This is something you can copy. So here we have this. I'll also show you what these triggers do. But, if we look in here, the package is not connected. So we're going to want to do this. I'm going to go back to the tutorial. You're going to want to create another prop dynamic. And we're going to want to give it the package model. There it is. Actually, having them remove it is a whole other can of worms, but um, it's just a bit of timing. You don't want to just give it a name. We're gonna call it food. You want to do a logic auto. You only need the outputs for this entity. Then on map spawn, let's select this package, set parent and attachment package underscore attachment. And I believe this isn't correct yet. So I'm gonna go over. Is logic auto near here? No, it is not. But you can use mark here. You can find it. Okay, let's do that. I guess it just finds the closest. Oh, wrong one. That is a completed one. So now, this should get attached to this. Now, we're going to have them remove it. 2 seconds. So 5 seconds, we are going to disable this. Copy and paste 7 seconds, we're going to re-enable it. Forget on NPC started using 3 seconds. I go here to this. Then we're going to want to move the queue up. So what move queue up does, if I boot up the AI Actbusy queue, what this does, if we scroll down to the to inputs, move queue up. It moves all NPCs in queue up one position. So it'll make this guy go to this guy go to this guy, etc., etc. But something it'll also do, it'll send the first NPC to the exit node, which means it'll send them here and also force them to end. This food queue front is special. So if we go in here, it does not get interrupt, but his exit sequence is take package. So it'll play an animation where they take the package first and then they'll leave. And it also adds the package in their hands. So there's no need to do any funny business with that. It'll just add the package to their hands. And now, you're going to want to do this. Go back to the queue. On NPC left the queue. Well, let's make it 2 seconds. That's one I figured was reliable. We're going to go to the food queue and force this NPC to leave. Alright. And then that should work. The NPC will leave, they'll have their food, everyone will be happy. And something you're also going to do, if you have this option, you should have checked this. So you don't have to do any funny business with timings and stuff to make this not stay. Not like do this. So that should be everything. We have our queue, we have our package, and once we show this, I'll show you how to make it random. So it'll be like the Half-Life 2 queue line, where they move in and out of the queue. And I'll also show you how you can make it so the player can queue as well. Kind of like in Postal 2. So now we just wait for Gary's mod to load up. Once it loads up though, we should be able to see our stuff working. So here we have this guy. I believe this is Barry. He's going into the queue. Okay, that should not happen, but you can just set up some extra things there.
Hello, Dr. Freeman.
So I did not work, since this is still here. But now you can see it's working. They're queuing up. Some of them might leave, but that just means they aren't a part of the queue and they were part of this Actbusy. But you can fix that by setting it up so that way all those guys, all their groups are just outside, I guess. Oh no, they just aren't even working. Oh well. It's not important. I already showed you how they work. You should be able to figure it out.
Hi.
Okay, they are working. I don't know what's going on with this one. Let's do that. That didn't work, but nothing ever seems to want to work.
Dr. Freeman.
Oh, I know why, because I forgot to set the parent on that. You gotta set the parent on that to this. And then it should parent it to the attachment point.
Well,
Alright, now we'll show you how. So first off, set the parent to be that, and then it should work. Now we'll show you how you can queue up as well. So we're going to want to get the trigger. I'm just going to show you one. You can figure out the rest because it's kind of painful to do. On the center of the node here, I want to create a trigger. Make sure the trigger is somewhat high, so jumping doesn't cause it to think you're no longer in a queue. We're going to want to make this a trigger multiple. And now there's this nice feature right here in the inputs. Player started blocking and player stopped blocking. What those inputs do is tell the queue that you're standing there and you're in the queue. So we can say player started blocking 0, I believe. Actually, I can figure this out quite easily. So 1 is, so it starts at queue position 1. Make sure you remember that, so I clearly did not. Want to make sure you want to make sure you center this nicely too. So queue position 1, and on end touch all, specifically for multiplayer, you don't want this. Players stop blocking. So that should work, and it will force NPCs, so if you're standing here, the NPC will stand here. And then vice versa for all of them. So we make this for clients, if you make this for NPCs, they'll start breaking a lot of stuff. And now I'll show you how to make it random. So you're going to want to get a logic timer here. And the reason we're going to get a logic timer instead of the way Half-Life 2 does it is because I believe it's built into the map. So you have this min move time, max move time. You don't want that. That is deprecated. It does not work anymore. I don't know how it still works even. But you want to go here. Minimum wait interval. We're going to make this 3 seconds. 10 seconds. Use random time. Yes. Start disabled. Yes. I'm gonna call this move time. Timer. Yeah, move timer. I'm gonna go in here, on timer, self, disable, so it doesn't refire. And also on timer, move queue up. And we're just gonna wanna go in here and copy and paste all of this. You're actually just gonna wanna copy paste all of this. Paste on timer. All these 3 seconds here are now 0. This 5 seconds is now 3. 7 seconds. Let's make this 6 seconds. And it doesn't really, actually, I'll make it 5 seconds. Actually, no, 6 seconds is fine. So now, it should be random. We can get rid of all of this and add on NPC started using move timer enable. And now I'll start the clock. And now this timer will make it random. We can compile once more. I need to grab something to eat. Alright. And there we go. Now, if we see NPCs starting to roll in, we can run ahead of them.
Hello, Dr. Freeman.
And stand in the line right here. You should see this guy will wait. Now he'll start moving up. He'll stop. Okay, it seems to have broken things. But that's probably because this guy is not a part of the queue. This guy might be, though.
Hey, Doc.
No. Okay, things are breaking. I'm not sure why. But you should probably figure that out on your own. So I believe you were the one. Yep, you were the one that wanted to stand there. As well, NPCs are moving, it seems to break a lot of things. But now you can see it's working flawlessly, except for the packet, the infinite package there. And you can jump in. This guy will then wait for you. And he'll move up when you leave.
Freeman.
Now you can see it is random. This guy is taking a lot longer to stare at this thing for his food to come out.
Well, Gordon Freeman. And about time, too.
So it's working flawlessly now.
Hello, Dr. Freeman.
These guys are all sitting down at benches, leaning on the side, queuing up for food.
Dr.
And
Freeman.
yeah, that's how you make Actbusies for your NPCs to look like it's a really lively place and people are all doing stuff. They could be watching TV. They could be doing anything. Also, these you really want to hide using player clips. Use player clips, not block bullets, because players can't pass through them, but NPCs can. And you can hide it around a corner and they won't know that NPCs are getting deleted. And now we have this queue here that's dynamically that's just kind of flowing through randomly. People are grabbing stuff. That's the only issue I've noticed, is that happens. You can just kind of ignore that. That is really the only fix. That makes sure they won't just... That way they won't do this to try and get back, which you don't want them to. You want them to walk out. But once you see they start exiting, they walk around normally. Now, dialogue, I have not been able to figure out. It just does not seem to work for me. But that's fine, you don't really need dialogue. Yeah, that's how you make Actbusies
Wow, Gordon
and
Freeman.
Actbusy
And about
queues.
time, too.
I'll see you in the next video.